Next, let's talk about the 37 practices of a bodhisattva. Everyone, please don't feel too tired. Look at Khenpo Tsultrim Lodro. He lectures for more than 2 hours every afternoon, just the teaching itself. Sometimes he starts at 3 o'clock and goes until 6 o'clock. Compared to that, I'm actually a much more well-behaved and thoughtful individual, always striving to be considerate. If you listen carefully and attentively to his various talks and presentations, you will undoubtedly perceive a notable contrast, basically what I cover in my lectures. I can finish in about an hour and a half. Let's take a look at the 37 practices of a bodhisattva. Today we're discussing the 37 practices of a bodhisattva, because earlier we talked about the main outline. We finished discussing conventional bodhicitta. Now we're moving on to ultimate bodhicitta. Ultimate bodhicitta also involves entering meditative absorption and practicing non-conceptual, non-grasping awareness. Afterward, we eliminate the grasping at reality toward objects of attachment and aversion. First, entering meditative absorption. This line is the deepest teaching in the 37 practices of a bodhisattva and the most profound in our direct pointing instructions. All phenomena appear only through mind. Mind's nature is originally free from conceptual extremes. Understanding this, one does not grasp at subject or object. This is the practice of a bodhisattva. All appearances are created by the mind. The mind is free from all conceptual elaborations. If that's the case, if we do not cling to either external objects or the mind itself, then this is the true practice of a bodhisattva. No matter how the myriad phenomena of the outer world and sentient beings appear, they are all merely imputed by our own mind. From the perspective of their true nature, they are empty. So what exactly is this mind that can be cultivated? As for its essence, it is free from all conceptual extremes such as existence and non-existence, permanence and annihilation. In other words, once we realize the ultimate reality and true nature of all phenomena, both objects and the mind that apprehends them, after understanding this ultimate reality and true nature, if we come to know this, then whether it is external objects we grasp or the internal mind that grasps, the thoughts that establish them as truly existent, or any conceptual elaborations of attachment, one should practice the emptiness free from conceptual elaborations without any mental fabrication at all. This line is very important. This verse, in fact in Dzogchen as well, apart from this, there is nothing else to be said. And in Madhyamaka it is truly the same. This is the conduct of all the bodhisattvas who enter meditative absorption and practice emptiness as space. Next, in the Prajnaparamita Sutra, it is said to realize the principle of the emptiness and unborn nature of all phenomena. This is the supreme practice of the perfection of wisdom. It is also said to practice the perfection of wisdom is to not practice any dharma. To practice the perfection of wisdom is to practice emptiness like space. Those who practice the perfection of wisdom do not need to practice anything else. Just practicing emptiness is enough. Do you understand this meaning? It doesn't mean you just stare at the sky every day. That's not the point. As for the principles of practicing emptiness, I have also shared many different perspectives on Weibo before, haven't I? This is very important. If you reach a state like space, everything becomes simple. All phenomena perceived as external objects are conceptual fabrications of the mind. In reality, they cannot be established. Even the mind that establishes these things is itself free from arising, abiding, and ceasing. So whether it appears as the subject or as the object, all phenomena abide in the middle way, free from conceptual elaboration. When I was teaching the treasury of the Dharmadhatu, many people seemed to have some sense of this. This is the way it is explained in Vajrayana Buddhism. Then, when we discussed the ornament of the Middle Way commentary, many people also had a similar feeling. Including when I taught the fundamental wisdom of the Middle Way, many people also had some experience or realization, I suppose. When yogic practitioners engage in the path, they also discern the true nature in this way. We are all yogic practitioners. When we practice, we truly gain some understanding of the meaning of emptiness as taught in the Middle Way. I feel that when discussing the Middle Way and Dzogchen, it's easy to have a direct experience or realization, but texts like the Abhidharmakosha and the Abhisamaya Lankara can be hard to understand and dry. It's not so easy to see immediate results in our own practice. There are certain difficulties involved. But the meaning of the Middle Way is clear to everyone. The essence of any object of perception does not truly exist, and the perceiving mind is also free from attachment. Any phenomena, whether truly existent or not, are all regarded without any conceptual discrimination. In the state where there is no mental fabrication toward anything, one abides undistracted and at ease. This is the meditative absorption on emptiness, like space itself. In the explanation of bodhicitta as well, it is said that when the mind has no object of focus, it takes on the nature of space. Those who practice emptiness are called to meditate on space. Similarly, in Nagarjuna Bodhisattva's explanation of bodhicitta, when one truly practices in a state like space itself, when we truly examine it, all phenomena, both conditioned and unconditioned, all phenomena included in samsara and nirvana, are ultimately unattainable in their true nature. In the way of the Bodhisattva, it is said when Bodhisattva Shantideva flew into the sky, he uttered profound words. Many people say, I can't recite other parts of the way of the Bodhisattva, but I can recite this particular line. They're really impressive. When real and non-real both are absent, none will appear before the mind. At that time, there are no other characteristics, and it is most peaceful without any reference points. It is also said, just as I should uphold, all is like space. At that time, he initially said, I do not have the mind to benefit others. At the beginning of the way of the Bodhisattva, I don't really have the intention to benefit others. It's just that through my own habituation, I compose the way of the Bodhisattva. And then by the end, at the conclusion of the wisdom chapter, I hope that I can uphold it. And sentient beings can realize the state of prajna paramita, vast as space. That's what he said. Venerable Atisha said, knowing nature free from elaboration abides in freedom from elaboration. He said, realization without conceptual thought can be called the realization of ultimate meaning. Venerable Dromtonpa also said, the true nature of emptiness in the three times is not deceived by any external appearances. There is no internal observation to deceive oneself, knowing that neither of these two has anything to be observed. Whether inside or outside, or in other words, nothing exists at all. Actually, here he quotes many sayings from the Kadampa tradition. The words of the Kadampa within Tibetan Buddhism, it should be considered the early period of the Gelug tradition. From Venerable Atisha onward, up to the time of Master Tsongkhapa, this lineage is called the Kadampa tradition. The Kadampa tradition was established by Venerable Atisha at that time. Then he passed the Dharma to Dromtonpa. After Dromtonpa, there was a branch focused on theory and another branch focused on actual practice. Within the branch dedicated to practice, many prominent figures emerged, including Gunpawa, Puchungwa, and Langri Tangpa. All of these appeared during that period. The general time frame should be from the 11th to the 14th century. Later, in the 15th century, Master Tsongkhapa was born. After Master Tsongkhapa was born, he basically took the earlier lamp for the path to enlightenment as the main foundation. And on this basis, Master Tsongkhapa composed the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment. This theory then replaced the previous one. After that, the true Kadampa monasteries, over time, gradually transformed into the Gelug tradition. Before this, the majority of monasteries in Tibet at that time, Khoden, the Mongol king, when he came to Tibet in the 13th century, said that most of the monasteries in Tibet were of the Kadampa tradition. So, as for the Kadampa school, it mainly focused on actual practice. From the perspective of Tibetan Buddhism, among different schools, the Kadampa school had a relatively large number of accomplished practitioners. The Nyingma and Sakya schools also had accomplished practitioners. But the most important point is, for a period of time, Tibetan Buddhism had a union of religion and politics. It can also be said that at that time, religious figures also held political power. For a period, it was the Kagyu school that held power. Some previous incarnations of the Karmapa also participated in this aspect. Later on, the Sakya school was also involved, and after that the Gelug school as well. Only the Nyingma school was almost never involved in this regard. They mainly focused on actual practice. So, looking at this author, Venerable Kodrak, he might be particularly interested in the Kadampa school. Previously, in the great commentary on the Bodhisattva's way of life, there was a teaching by His Holiness on the great commentary on the Bodhisattva's way of life, which was actually also composed by Kunsang Chodrak. It should have been in 1998 when His Holiness gave the teaching. So regarding this author, as I mentioned at the very beginning, beginning. I once wrote a biography of His Holiness before, at the very beginning. I quoted from it in that work. There is a prophecy called Vajra of the Dharma realm. In the prophecy of Vajra of the Dharma realm, it is said that when His Holiness, the wish-filling jewel, was in India, he was the Venerable Sagara, the author of the Garland of Flowers treatise. In Tibet, in front of Guru Padmasambhava, he was Vajrakilaya. Within the teachings of the Gelug school, he was Kedrupje. Within the teachings of the Sakya school, he was the Sakya Dharma king, Kunga Gyatso, one of the 5 founding patriarchs of the Sakya school. Then in Minyak, Minyak refers to the area around present-day Daofu, known as Minyak. In the region of Minyak, he was Kunsang Chodzak. So, in this text, it is said that these were the previous incarnations of His Holiness. Moreover, it is said that at that time, when Kunsang Chodzak was approaching parinirvana, he was an exceptionally pure upholder of the Vinaya precepts. Then someone asked him, "How should we recognize your reincarnated Tulku?" He said, "You don't need to recognize one. When the time comes, there will be an extraordinary person. Someone who can recite the Manjushri Namasamgiti by heart. He will restore this monastery. He will be my emanation." As he spoke, he wiped his own alms bowl and then manifested parinirvana. Later, many eminent monks and great masters believed that it must be His Holiness, the wish-fulfilling jewel, because in the prophecy of Vajradhatu, there is such a statement. Back in 1986, they invited His Holiness to go there. His Holiness also said, "I may not necessarily be the emanation of Kunsang Chodrak." Indeed, there is such a prophecy in the Vajradhatu's predictions. So, to express interdependent origination, the very first Dharma teaching, I want to recite the Manjushri Namasamgiti for everyone. His Holiness said, "I used to be able to recite the Manjushri Namasamgiti from memory, but now it seems I can't recite it completely from memory, so I'll read from the text to recite it for everyone." Then he also taught the way of the Bodhisattva, as well as teachings such as the 6 Bardos. In 1986, well, I came in 1985, at that time, these prophecies about His Holiness, I was very interested in them myself. He had already arrived at the sacred site of Kunsang Chodrak. If he really was like this in his previous life, would he manifest various miraculous powers here? We were still looking forward to it. Indeed, later, a footprint was left on the sacred mountain of Guwu. In fact, Gensang Chiuja is the exoteric part of the study, also has some Gelugpa, but he quoted it less in the Gelugpa sect. Here are all some teachings of Kadampa school. The Nyingma school is not quoted. I don't know what it is like. Anyway, the words of the 37 practices of a bodhisattva, only Thogme Sangpo's own teachings and Zhongdunpa. He first uses the sutras, then Atisha's teachings, then Zhongdunpa's. He habitually does this. However, composing this treatise, I think, is still quite difficult. He finds so many teachings for each section. I don't even know where we've gotten to now. All right, let's stop here for today. Are we done with Atisha's part? Done, right? Then Zhongdunpa's part. Okay, let's pause here at Potowa.
Bandara Padma Sodargye